Why do creators at the top of the food chain effortlessly land multi-million-dollar brand deals while the rest of small creators are left to fight for the crumbs? The big question is, how can one create pricing leverage for themselves so they do not have to hunt and beg for sponsorships, get lowballed offers, sometimes even just a free product, and actually make it a major source of income, similarly to how Ali Abdaal has done, where in 2023 he was able to do $1 million in brand sponsorships. This video is going to be a part of my Build Your Brand series, where I have spent hundreds of hours, so you don't have to, analyzing hundreds of content creators and business owners to figure out how to create a standout brand in today's highly competitive content landscape. This is step one, finding your lucrative creator monetization model. Now, from my analysis, there are three factors that go into building pricing leverage for one's self. How much traffic or relationship leverage you have, the niche you're operating in and how much spending power that niche has, and which platform you are operating on. We will also discuss, does being a micro or nano influencer actually give you pricing leverage, as many of us have been led to believe. The biggest issue for small creators is figuring out their pricing power and how much they should charge for their sponsored posts. The problem is that there actually isn't a one-size-fits-all answer, because the danger is that you can actually be lowballing yourself, and most are based on follower count, which is not really that indicative of pricing at all. In this interview, Graham Stephan, a power player influencer within the real estate and finance niche, interviews Mr. Beast, who we all know is definitely a power player influencer. And it was revealed that he could command $3 million for a single brand deal.
What's the most you think I've gotten for a brand deal?
3 million.
We've definitely done deals around that ballpark, yes.
Now, some of you may be like, that's crazy, but how do I do that? In order for us to calculate our own pricing power, we first need to understand, how do brand sponsors calculate pricing? Because why would you go into a negotiation without first understanding what the other party wants? When I was trying to launch a product-based business, I was mapping out an influencer marketing campaign for it. Just so you can understand what goes on from the brand sponsor side, first they start by calculating their marketing budget for that season or for that quarter. They have a set amount that they're willing to spend on influencer marketing. From there, it's a process of finding influencers they can potentially partner up with, and then of course using process of elimination to narrow it down. How they narrow it down is based on their campaign objective. Now, with so many content creators and influencers one can partner with, there needs to be a way to objectively baseline them. And one of those ways is through CPM. CPM stands for cost per mille impressions. Mille is French for 1,000, aka cost per 1,000 impressions. From there, we can figure out, does the math. So if we say on average, Mr. Beast can command 150 million views per video, and a brand is paying him $3 million to sponsor a video, that breaks down to a $20 CPM, meaning it takes $20 to get in front of 1,000 people with Mr. Beast's audience. Now, I need to make a disclaimer that I do not know if that is his rate right now. That's just based on the calculations I have made based on what I think his average view count is. Now, you may be asking, well, is that good? In order for us to figure out, is it a good CPM for this particular niche? Which, by the way, CPMs are often niche dependent, which we will talk about when we get to the niche portion. But anyways, I'm gonna be using data from this website called Cloutboost, a company that specializes in influencer marketing for the gaming niche, since the gaming niche was the brand sponsor that Mr. Beast was doing the brand deal with. So in this article, we see that for a 60 to 90 second video sponsorship, it will cost a $25 to $40 CPM. So with that, we can conclude that a business doing a $3 million deal with Mr. Beast, with a $20 CPM, with a potential exposure of 150 million views, well, the math be mathin'. So if you're someone who's considering one of the pure influencer monetization categories, specifically brand sponsorships, then you would need to pay attention on how you can build pricing leverage for yourself. And one of those ways is ensuring that you get traffic leverage. It is understanding a platform's algorithm so that you can ensure you're getting high average views consistently, but also understanding the deep psychology of how to grab and keep attention, because this just feeds into algorithms pushing out your content more and thus increasing your average view count. If we were to go back to the Mr. Beast example, he has spent years since he was a kid analyzing how to make content go viral.
How did you know, A, there was something to study,
Yes.
and B, how did you learn to study it?
Videos don't just randomly go viral. It's not like it's just like a little blindfold throwing a dart. That video gets views. So it was just like a quest for like knowledge on like why this video over a very, very long time.
So don't feel bad if you're not pulling in 150 million views like him. But this has allowed him to have leverage as a creator to command premium pricing. But having high views and a competitive CPM is not the only factors. One could argue, what about micro influencers who are not doing the 150 million average view count, but are still making good income? Well, the next factor that determines how much a brand is willing to invest in a content creator is how much conversion potential that content creator has. AKA, how likely is it that their audience will convert or buy on that sponsored post? So that brings me to the second thing, building relationship leverage. There are two components to this. Audience retention, how much can you retain an audience, and credibility and topic authority, aka how much trust and credibility has this creator built with their audience so that their audience actually takes their recommendations seriously. To understand this, let's go back to trying to step into the mind of the sponsor. While CPM and average view count, aka average reach, average exposure, is important for a brand awareness campaign, a type of marketing objective where a brand is really optimizing for getting as much eyeballs on them. They're trying to make a splash, go, I'm here, I'm thriving. But sometimes though, awareness does not equate to sales, because awareness means awareness. And that is where campaigns optimizing for sales comes in. And how a creator's leverage here starts looking a bit differently. For a creator trying to build their conversion potential, it's not enough to just have one content piece go viral or just to get high views, because it means nothing if people do not actually become fans of yours, following, engaging, interacting. We are far more likely to take a recommendation seriously from someone that we've actually been a part of their content experience for a while. So the question becomes, how do we retain an audience? The first thing we need to realize is that content creators kind of fall into one of two buckets. You're either making a real impression or you are accidentally coming across as another Me Too wannabe content creator. Even me, while I try really hard not to do this because I know how hard it is to put yourself, your thoughts out online, but it's all subconscious. Sometimes I'm just scrolling about and I'm seeing myself exposed to this content creator and this content creator, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm just watching these videos, but then I move on to the next one. I'm like, this person just another one of those people, I guess. And so therefore I'm not retained because I don't follow, I don't subscribe. I am what I would consider an in and out watcher, meaning I'm bouncing in because the algorithm pushed one piece of content for me, but I'm like, this person just didn't make a strong enough impression for me to continue to follow or engage with them. And so they just kind of go off into the peripherals of my attention. This in and out watching phenomenon is only going to get worse as more content creators and more content keeps just going up online. What is the first step in combating this problem? It is about creating a cohesive content experience, aka a cohesive first impression. Is there cohesion when one lands on your profile, your channel, or does it look like you're someone who's just like all over the place? When you are all over the place, it doesn't make you memorable. Now, I understand there is an inner war taking place every time you're trying to figure out what content topic that you want to talk about. Sometimes you want to talk about what you want to talk about. The reason why this is important though is because people are making snap judgments. And when they take that 5 seconds to go and figure out what you're about, but they go and they see and they're like, I'm confused, they're just gonna move on. Now, there's 3 ways to create cohesion: format, topic, or message. This channel, I plan on doing more deeper dives into how to create a signature content experience with a unique value proposition, very important. So please stay tuned for that. A lot more goes into it, but it's kind of hard to go in depth in this video when we have an agenda we got to get through. But the issue with most people is that they often do not have enough proof. Sometimes they're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna niche down, and they just like go, they just do it for like a month, or they just post like 1 to 5 content pieces. But the problem is that you do not have enough proof yet. When you're just doing it for a short, sporadic burst, you're still not able to create that strong, instant impression. The second issue with most people is that when they don't strategize, they come across as a lifestyle influencer, which I'm not really a fan of because I really do not think the internet needs more of those. The only time I feel that a lifestyle influencer can really make it in today's very competitive content landscape is if you have a very strong, unique value proposition like Life of Riza. If we were to go on her channel, we would see that it is her documenting her 20s. Now, I don't think that is the unique value proposition. There's a bunch of people documenting to their 20s, but why does she stand out? She brings her very strong technical cinematic skills and superb storytelling abilities into her content. This creates a signature content experience that only she can do because not a lot of people have the skills or know how to compete on those attributes. This raises the barrier of entry to be able to directly compete with her and puts more distance between her and the rest of the Me Too's. If you watched my very first video on this channel, you will know that me just doing talking heads is already a lot of stress for me. So I commend Life of Riza for putting together cinematic masterpieces, and that is what makes her stand out amongst the sea of other Me Too's. Now, the second thing in audience retention is building real conscious loyalty. I have noticed recently that platforms across the board are becoming more TikTok-fied, aka my feeds are not always populated by people that I follow or subscribe to. For a huge lot of the people that even I'm subscribed to, I don't know if they have uploaded recently, and I don't trust that my algorithm is going to give me the update on that. The reason why this has taken place is because TikTok has shown that their algorithm is able to retain viewers more. What's made their algorithm different? It is highly driven by AI personalization, meaning that the algorithm is taking matters more into their hands to curate what goes on in our feeds. And sometimes that means them making the call of going, no, we don't want to show you who you subscribed or followed because we think we know better. Now, the thing is that it has been working. Viewers are being retained on platforms. With these types of algorithm powering these platforms, it makes that algorithm sticky. This is a good and it's a bad thing. The good is that I have the potential to discover smaller new creators every day. And I feel like we've seen proof of this because we've seen so many new smaller creators be able to enter the game and become a player. But the bad part is this has now just lowered the barrier of entry and at the same time increased the barrier of entry because now the competition is stronger. Like what we talked about with the Life of Riza example, now more than ever, I really believe creators need to have the soft skills to be able to get audiences to keep coming back to them. This is a war of attention because now there's so many different different places that we can put our attention to. This is a part of a deeper discussion of, is the follower dead? But also, I don't want to like scare people and go, oh my gosh, like even if someone follows and subscribes, they'll never be shown your future content, because no, that's not the case. I still believe that the algorithm takes that into account. There's an increase in probability that if someone subscribes and follows you, that your content will be shown. But the biggest difference is that it's probability, not guarantee. So I believe now it's more than using tactics to grow your following, like subscribe or hit the notification bell, because you actually need to learn how to create deep, conscious, true psychological loyalty within a viewer so that they actually want to keep coming back. I have noticed that there's some people I follow and subscribe to that I'm actually an avid fan of. And I believe the algorithm knows this because it's seeing that whenever it shows this person's creator's video on my home feed, I'm like immediately clicking on it. I even noticed myself, there are just some creators that I actively go and seek out. I'm like actively typing in their name. I'm like, have they posted recently? Because I need a dose of them right now. Where have they been? So I believe with the movement of the internet becoming more and more personalized, this type of conscious loyalty is going to start playing a bigger role. So what does this mean for content creators? I believe there needs to be a shift from these subscriber hacks to actually learning how to create bingeability and continuity in your content experience. Back then, in the more search-based SEO type era where it was not super hyper personalized content, people can get away with hacking search inquiries, hacking trends. For instance, you see a bunch of people typing in like how to reboot your MacBook, and then sometimes these content pieces rank high. The problem with this is that it creates an in and out viewing experience where someone just bounces in, gets the answer, and they bounce out. This problem is going to be further exacerbated with ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, where people can just like ask AI their questions. So in my opinion, what's going to be in low supply yet high demand, aka market opportunity, is creating a signature content experience that people cannot get anywhere else but you. But this experience needs to have this I need to keep tuning back in energy, bingeability, continuity, so that it can still compete in a landscape where that algorithm is not just strictly showing people you're following or subscribed to. So you need to like override that, get into the conscious loyalty of people's minds so that they actually become fans of yours. So to recap how all of this relates to building creator leverage for yourself so that you can command premium pricing is that there's two ways to build leverage: through traffic or through relationships. Now, if you're optimizing for traffic, it's about really mastering the art of grabbing attention and keeping attention and getting your content to have high average view counts, similar to Mr. Beast. This allows you to be able to negotiate with sponsors because this will allow you to play into their objective of if they're running a brand awareness campaign. But mastering traffic in that high of a level is not the only way to create pricing leverage for yourself, because the next way is through relationships. If a brand is trying to run a sales or conversion campaign where they're optimizing more for sales and not really just awareness, because awareness is just awareness, then they're going to look more deeper into, can you as a content creator, do you have the relationship leverage to be able to get people to buy stuff that you are recommending? Now, who do you take recommendations seriously from? From people you actually have a relationship with, even if it's a parasocial one. This requires you to have a strong enough content experience where you made a great first impression to get people to join in the first place, and you would have mastered how to create deep psychological conscious loyalty to get people to keep coming back. It's about strategizing how can your content experience be bingeable or continuous and not in and out. Now, there's one more thing that feeds in to relationship leverage, and that is credibility and topic authority. For credibility, it is about actually making genuine brand recommendations. We were in a heavy influencer era where influencers were just partnering with anybody and everybody and pushing products at people. Now, I don't want to hate on them, because if your main monetization strategy is with the pure influencer monetization strategies, the big one being the brand sponsorships, I feel for these content creators who are trying to make ends meet that they feel like their backs are pressed against the wall, that they have to keep money coming by partnering with brands, even if they sometimes do not use them. Some of these people, I bet, have a lot of internal struggle on how much they can balance. But that's why later in the series, I talk about other monetization strategies, because what I didn't say in the beginning of this video, which I'm going to say now, is that I do not think brand sponsorships alone are the best monetization strategy, because it puts a lot of the control out of your hands and opens a door for a higher chance of instability. And that's why in this next video, I talk about influencer business hybrid monetization strategies, because there's other ways to monetize that puts the control back in your hands. The problem when someone is just recommending willy-nilly and feeling like they're selling out is that even if you did build a loyal audience, your recommendations, though, are still not having the impact that you want. And again, this doesn't bode well for a sponsor who's trying to run a sales and conversion campaign. Sponsors are looking into how often are you recommending things, because they know that if you're constantly recommending things, if they partner with you and you now recommend their product, it may not have as much of an impact. So I'm more of an advocate that if you want to make brand sponsorships one of your main revenue sources, it's about building deep and long-term relationships with partner sponsorship brands. Really brainstorming and strategizing how you are going to position their products in your content experience so that it really increases conversions. Which brings me into topic authority. Besides not recommending everything under the sun, if you really want your audience to take your recommendations seriously, that you showcase that you have true expertise and authority on a topic. Now, the big question that a lot of us have is, how can we niche down, but at the same time be our multidimensional selves? Because at the end of the day, we are humans and not robots. And that is why in my previous video, I talk about how you can create a content strategy that revolves around being just that. Whew, my arm hurts. Oh dear, the lashes are looking wonky today.